I shoot on Sony, and in my little head here, I just kind of felt like everybody shoots on Sony. But I know that's not true. So I wanted to know how many people actually shoot on Sony cameras. To do that, I'm diving into the data once again, this time to find out how many Big Photo Hunt members are using each of the top 5 most popular camera brands and how many photos they're submitting. Hi, if we haven't met yet, I'm Ken. I'm an amateur photographer learning photography right here along with you. I'm also the founder of the Big Photo Hunt, which is arguably the world's most friendly photography community. It's really friendly. So today we're going to look at the share of voice or share of the Big Photo Hunt of each of the top 5 most popular camera brands. We're going to look at what percentage of users use each of these camera brands. And at the end, I'm going to share the global market share data with you so that we can compare the global market share data of all of these camera brands with their usage in our community. And it's pretty interesting stuff. One brand in particular has 3 times more usage in the Big Photo Hunt community than it does out in the real world. But first, let's get into the top 5 most popular camera brands on the Big Photo Hunt. Coming in 5th place with 4.2% of the users is Lumix or Panasonic. Panasonic shooters tend to be hybrid. Panasonic makes great video use cameras. And I also think that it is a brand that users are deliberate about getting into after much thought. When you put those two things together, what you're seeing is a very consistent presence on the Big Photo Hunt, but nothing crazy. But in my mind, that would make sense. If you're a hybrid shooter, you're out there photographing, you're making videos. When you get some photos you like, you then share them with the Big Photo Hunt. But it's not like you're out there always passionately shooting photography only. And to drive that point home further, 3.6% of all photos were shot on a Lumix on the Big Photo Hunt. So that speaks to the idea that, again, Panasonic shooters are posting less frequently. Moving on to 4th place, and this one lands exactly where I thought it would land. It's a brand that people are looking for a very specific look, tend to use, and I'm sure you know what this is by now. It's Fuji Film with 8% of the market share, or the Big Photo Hunt share, meaning 8% of Big Photo Hunters are shooting with a Fuji Film camera. I did expect it to land in the top 5, but not at the very top, and that's because I think Fujifilm users are a little bit more picky about what photos they hunt. It kind of goes with the whole Fujifilm ethos of being more deliberate about what you shoot and then post. By the way, tell me in the comments if you're using Fujifilm or if you've shot with a Fujifilm camera and what you thought. I got a chance to use one back in January and loved it. It was just the X100VI. Just a beautiful camera, and it was just so easy, and I love street photography and just being out there with the Fujifilm X100VI, the look, everything. I love it. So it's on my list. If you're looking for Christmas gifts for me, you know. Okay, 3rd place, and this one breaks my heart just a little bit. After I looked into the details though and got some context around it, I really understood why it is in 3rd place. It actually makes a lot of sense. That is Sony. And I just say it breaks my heart because I shoot Sony, as I've mentioned. I think that Sony is a fantastic brand. All these cameras these days are excellent. But for me, Sony, I make video and photo. And so for me, Sony just works. And Sony came in with 15.7% of all of the users on the Big Photo Hunt. Oh, and by the way, even though Sony has 15.7% of all of the share, they have 17.4% of all of the photos submitted. So it shows that Sony users are a little bit more active than Lumix and Fujifilm. And remember, this is just within the Big Photo Hunt community. After I give you the 2nd and 1st place camera brands, I'm going to share the global market share and compare them all with you, because there are some standout brands that are way more popular on the Big Photo Hunt than they are in the real world. Coming into second place, the second most popular camera brand used. I wonder why this brand is the second most popular. And what really got me here is that in Sony's case, where you have 15.7% of all of the users, you have 17.4% of all of the photos submitted. So Sony shooters are hunting more photos each week than they represent in the overall community as a camera brand. This brand, though, is the opposite. They're coming in at 36.8% of all of the users, but they only have 30.6% of all of the photos submitted. So although they have such a huge chunk of Big Photo Hunt members, those members are just not submitting as many photos as Sony users. This brand in second place is Nikon. Again, I think a lot of that, maybe it's because you're doing landscape and wildlife. That's the biggest genres that they're in on our community. And so when they don't have any new landscape or wildlife photos, they're just not coming in to post anything. They get some more, they come post it. Whereas Sony cameras tend to be more popular with the content creator class. And those users are often very engaged with street photography. And in fact, on the Big Photo Hunt, street photography is very popular among Sony shooters. So they have more photos more frequently, and so they're posting more often. And I mentioned that the global market share versus Big Photo Hunt data kind of like flip-flops. Wait till you see Nikon's market share compared to Big Photo Hunt and just the differences. Now, we're going to get there in a minute. Okay, number one, first place is Canon with 40.7%, but the share of photos hunted on the Big Photo Hunt is only 34.3%. So it's a lot lower than the amount of shooters that there are. And I think there's two main reasons why the numbers here are what they are. The first, when it comes to photo share being less than the actual market share, I think that's because Canon users, they're shooting across all different genres, but in that is a lot of landscape and wildlife. So Canon shooters have fewer photos to post on like a regular basis. But here's what I think impacts Canon even more. Canon is like a mainstream monster camera brand. Not that the others aren't, but Canon gets everything, right? You've got these professionals out there shooting on their new R series, which are amazing. And then you've got a lot of beginners going in. And so it's got a wide spectrum. Sometimes beginners, they come on board and they've got a camera and they're testing out photography and then they fall off. And so you've got this wide spectrum of users, which accounts for their high market share on the Big Photo Hunt. And then the lower percentage of photos submitted is probably because maybe some of these newer photographers are not as active or not as engaged as more professional camera brands. Again, not that Canon's not professional, it's just they've got products across the entire spectrum. Okay, here's where I thought things got really interesting. The Big Photo Hunt is just a community of amateur photographers all growing together. And so I wanted to see how our community compared to the general market share when it comes to these cameras. And it was really interesting. Let me show you. First, Panasonic global market share, 3.4%. And here on the Big Photo Hunt, if you recall, we came in at 4.2%. So that's less than 1% difference. So it's pretty much on target with what's going on in the marketplace. Just got a reminder, my bagel's ready. I put a bagel in the toaster before I started recording this video. I don't know why I put a bagel in the toaster before I started recording a video. I really wanted that bagel though. Okay, Fuji Film coming in with 5.8% of global market share. Here on the Big Photo Hunt, the share of users using Fuji Film cameras is 8%. That's 2.2% overrepresented, and I like that because I think Fujifilm brings a really creative aspect to a community. So I like that we're getting a lot of Fujifilm users. If you're a Fujifilm user, first of all, tell me in the comments, say hi, and second of all, check out the Big Photo Hunt. I really want you to be a member because we love Fujifilm shooters. I love all shooters. I love everybody. I love you, but I just love. Next, I'm going to go with Sony here. Sony came in at 26.2% global market share. Our Big Photo Hunt data is showing 15.7% of all of our users are using Sony, underrepresented on the Big Photo Hunt by 10.5%. Breaks my heart. Next, I want to do Canon because as I told you earlier in the video, Nikon is the shocker here. And that's Canon coming in with 46.5%. And on the Big Photo Hunt, the share is 40.7%. So not too different, but a little bit lower than what's happening in the real world. Okay, and here we go, Nikon. I'm doing this one backwards. On the big photo hunt, we had 36.8% in the real world, though. Yeah, 12.9%. That means that Nikon over-indexes on the big photo hunt by 23.9%. And I'm going to chalk this up to a little bit of a theme here, that Nikon is a brand that is very professional for the most part. They target professional photographers or amateurs that want to take their photography very seriously. And so that's why we have more of that on the big photo hunt, because that's the kind of photographer that tends to be a big photo hunt member, someone that wants to take their photography more seriously. They want to grow, they want to learn, they want to improve. And so that's what I chalk that up to. For me, it's super interesting. I don't know if you share that same passion, but if you do, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your take on all of this. If you haven't yet seen my video on which focal length leads to the most upvotes, that is here. And if you've missed the video on which aperture does the same, that is here. Thanks for being here. It's great to see you, and you're just really good looking. See you next week.